Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Conversations with Fee. I'm your host Fee, and I have some amazing people here with me tonight so we can talk about why men aren't at church. So if everybody want to go around and introduce yourselves to the people.
I'm Eddie
Everyone,
Quarles.
I'm
Misha
Antoine,
Noble.
Antoine Grant.
And Kiara Noble. Hey y'all.
So guys, this conversation came about because we recently had our very own Men's Day at VLF. And basically, I saw how great the guys connected, and I was like, well, where's the rest of the men? So it kind of made me think about, okay, well, maybe we could talk about this. So here we are.
Okay, sounds good.
So I feel like at our church currently, we do have a decent amount of men, but I think that we're missing a certain audience, and would like to try to get those guys back to church.
Yeah, I
So
feel, I feel, I feel like for the younger generation, church isn't the cool thing right now.
right.
Um, if you do see a lot of young people in church, they're there because they have to be, not necessarily because they want to be or they choose to be. They might at some point, start liking it and decide that they want to come back. But I think like the initial taking of church is, you know, mom or grandmom is going to church and you're going to church. As long as you're under my roof, you're going to church on Sunday mornings. I don't care for the rest of the week. But just like I'll call them like the saggy pants generation. They just, the church isn't the cool thing for them right now. And then I think a lot of times I've seen young people admit that they do go to church, and the other young people are kind of look at them like, ew, So that's part of the reason. I think there aren't a lot of young men in church. That's my initial take on it.
Anybody else have anything?
No, I think he's absolutely correct. And it's ironically, our pastor touched on it this morning, and it's about the generation that came before. So I know there's a lost generation where nobody was bringing these young men into church, and young men then turn into older men. So we're talking, 25 and under who weren't taken to church when they were kids and things of that nature. I know for a fact that I wasn't taken to church, and I'm 38. So I mean, I know that there was, different types of crowds, but at the same time, we need to start finding ways to tell these young men, like we talk sports, me and Antoine, we catch each other all the time, talk hip hop, sports and things of that nature, but we need to start talking about church and what's going on in our community, our church community with these young men, just to, encourage them to come in. You can have fun in church, and none of us perfect. I think that's where they get it mixed up, because when we're young, we're in our mess, and they think that they're going to be judged in their messes, and they don't want to come, and being judged.
That's a good point.
I think that just aside from, the young men, just talking about, men in general, and I get it, it starts with the younger men because they grow up, right? But I think that introducing them, to church and inviting them is missing, because we talk about, all the time how word of mouth, I mean, it's a known fact, word of mouth with anything is going to get people in the door. They're not going to necessarily see a commercial on TV about church and be like, oh, wow, let me go to church, right? It's going to be somebody actually inviting them to come in. And then I think to piggyback off of what Mishan was saying, and even what Antoine was saying, engaging in conversation with them, I think that, like, for instance, Mishan and I, we are very down to earth. We are very relatable to different age groups, you know what I mean? And so when they see they might see us, listening to our R&B music or laughing, geeking, out, doing whatever we're doing. So just for them to see that, like, oh yeah, when they find out later on that, we're clergy or that we even go to church, I don't think it's necessarily a big shock. because we're the same everywhere that we go. But I think seeing that church people are cool too, you know what I mean? Church people can have
Right.
fun. It's not all about all these rules and all this red tape that it used to be is super important.
Good
Yeah,
point.
absolutely.
Good point.
Can I piggyback on that? Because she said something. She was like, I think you said we're the same wherever we go. And I know everybody on this panel, I think I can say the same. But unfortunately, not all church people are the same everywhere you go. And that's just keeping it 1,000. You know, Pastor says it all the time. We come and we sing and we can quote all of the scriptures on Sunday and then Monday, but then we have unfortunately, we have a lot of judgy people. Not in VLF, we not in VLF, but in the church in general, we have a lot of judgy people. And unfortunately, and I hate to keep harping on the young men, but I feel like the young men is that part that we're missing in VLF. At 25 and under, as Michon said. And a lot of times I know they get judged, the hairstyle, the clothes, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, why do I want to go to church to be judged? You know, and that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you think that we can do to gain that audience back in church?
Well, can I touch on that?
Yeah.
To be honest, me and Antoine, and Eddie, we cut it up, a lot every time we see each other. I think little things like the conversations have to be had outside of these, outside of the walls of church. When we're in our just regular conversation, we might not even have to beat down God per se in every single sentence, because some people haven't gotten there yet. Because a lot of people forget that just because you're in the church don't mean you are where everybody else is. You could be in the church for years. Myself, I can speak to this and not really have the relationship that you're looking for, but just getting them to the building, things like, hey man, what you doing this weekend? We have an event going on in our church. I feel like you would actually enjoy it, and you know who I am. You trust in me. If you're gonna trust in me, I can get you in the building. I think that's a beginning, because I've had I said it one time, I was preaching. It was the day I was given my license to preach. My wife surprised me and my best friends from childhood almost, man, young man out here in the world. They came to church, and they came because of our relationship. They came for nothing else. But ever since then, they've come to everything that they've come to because they wanted to support, but they like our church. All we have to do is just invite them, get them in the building. Eddie, call a friend. Tuan, call a friend. And it starts with us. To be honest, it starts with those men who are already in the church to say, okay, I've come over this side. I see what it's like. Let me now run back with this information, bro. I got a church where you can fit right in, and you don't have to change as much as you think. That can come later. I just need you in the building. I think it starts with us, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that my bad, Eddie. I think that Men's Day prayer breakfast is a perfect example. Because you see Jerry or his co-worker with him. And the last thing we said to him before we left out of there was like, bro, come back. He came back that Sunday and joined the church, and he'd been there ever since, and he'd been working.
Yes, sir.
Like when we were giving out the Thanksgiving baskets, Bro was back there just, you know what I'm saying? I think his name is Kenny. But that's just a prime example. You know what I'm saying? Jerry just invited him to the prayer breakfast. We came out, we had an amazing time, and he came back that Sunday. So that's kind of like what we need to do more. And we can't get discouraged when you get that person that has that negative thought about church, because especially now with social media and how information is, travels, people, a lot of men especially don't have that attitude of let me see for myself. It's kind of like, oh, this is what they say about church. I don't want to be involved with that. And then you got, certain things that happen in church. You know what I'm saying? And, certain people that claim to be church people, out here doing the same thing. Oh, I just seen her, shaking on the pole last night. So, that's the church, you know what I'm saying? So you just gotta, and it's hard because we're like the minority right now. So, it's kind of hard on us to, to try to bring them in, but you gotta try. You gotta keep trying.
That
Right.
part, to try.
I feel like once you get them in, you'll get them to understand certain things that we understand, as coming and studying the word, you'll let them understand that your relationship is only about what you put in. It's like you can't let other men's sins stir you away from your relationship, because in the end, it's really about your relationship with God. So our environment that we have, it is really loving. It's, we support one another, especially as men, because I've been to other places and you wonder, you see the women, it's easy to get women to get up and praise the Lord, but if you look around, most of the time it's hard to even get men to throw their hands in the air, or just clap without you saying it. But in the environment that we in, I feel like it'll have a few stay around, because it's just that type of environment.
It's got to be a comfort level once they get there.
Absolutely.
Got to be a comfort level. I think me, Sean, we had this conversation before, in a group setting where we were talking about, how, especially as Black men, we pretty much come out the womb, we got to be a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And we can't show that vulnerability. We can't show that, and I think a lot of men don't want to come to church because they don't want to show that vulnerability. Or when they come there, like Eddie said, you got women, praise dancing and, in tears, and the men just kind of sitting around like, hurry up and get this over. Football come on at 1 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And another thing is that, see, I come from a background where I grew up in a church, so I knew the right way, but it wasn't until I was really ready to submit, until, I really got to that point where it's like, okay, I didn't care about all these things, because I realized that, what it was really about to have that walk, and that relationship.
And bro, it's crazy. It took an ex-girlfriend of mine, because I think at one time I was that guy that was like, I don't want to go to church. That's not cool. You know what I'm saying? I want to go. And I remember she and I were at a basketball game, and we were going to a church in Randallstown. And the guy that played the drums came to the basketball game. And he came in there and he knew a lot of people there. So he running around, he dapping up everybody. And my girl, the ex-one, was like, see, you can be cool and go to church and still come out, and have fun like that. And that kind of hit home with me. You know what I'm saying? So by the time my now wife and I met, I think I was ready, to kind of give everything a try,
Oh, okay. That was actually going to be my next question. What brought you guys to church?
That woman, that young lady right there. I didn't told this story a couple times. If all honesty and transparency, I'm sorry for the viewers out there if you don't know me, but I'm gonna be me, Sean Noble. I'm Sharon the Noble son. I was in church because of my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, asking me to come to her family's church. She was just trying to get back into the fold of going to church on a regular basis. So I followed her. And to be honest, the whole time I was in there, I couldn't wait to go home and do the things that, that wasn't of church, But that was, sometimes he will use a token. You go to the word. I mean, we all talking about church. You go to the word. It says the burning bush. Talk about the burning bush. It's something that got your attention. Just getting me into church, Kiara was used as the conduit to get me there. My relationship came on its own throughout time. God doesn't need you, like Eddie said, God doesn't need no one else to help develop your relationship. He just needs someone to get you into that building, get something into that building. And I thank God for my wife, because if it wasn't for her, I'd have never heard old Pastor Gray talking about everything that I was doing wrong at the time. And I'm thinking he done told her. Hey, Antoine, I reached over one time and said, why did you tell your pastor everything that we've been going through? And she said, I didn't say anything. But if the shoe fits,
yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'll go next, sir, since you started.
Right under the bus.
I actually got into church from being invited, and that's why, I'm so adamant about that being, an important part of it. Miss Sarah Albritton, shout out to Miss Sarah. I was 12 years old, and my brother and I, we came up with, with her son and a bunch of other kids that was already at the church when I got there. She invited us to church, and she said, "I'll take you." And I was gonna touch on that too. I don't want to get too far into that because I want to let everybody else answer this question. But she said, "I'll take you," and that was another important piece. She didn't just say, "Well, can you
That
come?"
part, right? That part.
Yes. She didn't
That
just say, "Can you come?" Because we're children. And at that time, and my mom will tell everybody at that time, she was in a period of still like having feelings towards God and just from some things that she had been through. So she actually was angry when she found out that not only did, we go, but I joined church, came home, and she was like, "What? You did what?" Furious. That's another story for another day. But I was invited and I was taken, and I went, I think on the second Sunday that she took us, I joined. And the backsliding came, like Michonne was just saying, at the time when he, fast forward, that was 20 something years when he came along. I had left and came back 2 or 3 times. And so that happens too, but I'll say that for later too. But yeah, somebody invited me and took me there.
that's major. Okay.
So I'm like Michonne. I was chasing the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had just broken up with the ex that I was speaking about a few minutes ago and moved out Essex, and that's where I met C at. And when we started, getting serious with it, she was like, "I just started going to St. Stephen's. We lived right around the corner." And I was like, she get ready to ask me to start going to church. If I want to be with her, I got to start going to church. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And, the rest, as they say, is history. 20 plus years there, and now a couple of years as part of VLF. So, and doing things that if you would have told me, back then that I'm in church singing and directing and
Yes, sir.
all the I do, man, I'd asked you what you were smoking, but again, like Michonne said, that conduit, you know what I mean? So
Makes sense. Well, I'll share. So for me, like, my mom like brought us to church a few times, but I remember like when I moved towards in the Essex area, we went to like a daycare that kind of like was Christian based. So like as we got older, there was the little side for the little kids, but then on the big side was at the church. So that's like most of my Christian background was at daycare. And then that kind of got to the point where, okay, that was my life. And I don't even know how I ended up at St. Stephen's, but then me and Kiara had joined the young adults ministry, and we became friends there. And like she kind of was just encouraging me because I was always hiding in the background. I don't even know how I got here. Like, so she she got me to BLF, and then I would just pop in late in the chair, showing up after the service start, and then the next thing I know, I'm in multimedia. I don't even know how I got there. So I'm just really thankful for Spence and Panetta and
Amen.
Kiera.
That's what's up. Well, I grew up in church. Over the years you backslide and tend to get into other things, of course, as I did, but me and my wife had met and we would come to St. Stephen's really like on Easter or, maybe once or twice a year, but it was always inside of me. I knew what was going on, but like I said, I just kind of chose to do other things because, you young and you just want to have fun, but I'll never forget. She was like, "All right, we're gonna go to church on Sunday." So I came to this place. I'm looking. It's like in a, office suite. We go on the elevator, go upstairs, and I come in, and even though I was used to a place where it was like a mega church, you know, I didn't feel that family love. I didn't feel no connection because it was like I had to book an appointment just to talk to somebody, you know. It made me feel good that I can go around and talk to everybody. Everybody wanted to hug me, you know. So like I say, you know, just getting to the place, you'll see what everybody else is talking about. So, you know, since then, I haven't turned back. You know, like we all say, we find ourselves doing things that we never thought we would. But, you know, at this point, it's just like I want to be a part of the movement. I want to help bring more people to see this because if it saved me, it'll definitely save anybody else, you know?
And that's the
That's
most
a fact.
important. That's the most important right there, Eddie. We had that conversation about, you know, our backgrounds. And though you came up in church, I only visited churches when it was a funeral, whether it was cousins or friends. So for me, only going to church during funerals, I stayed away from them. You know, this is not a place I want to be. You know, when you're growing up and you don't understand, you know, my mom gave me faith, but she wasn't a very, you know, religious person. So we didn't travel back and forth to church at all. Um, I really feel like having someone in your life that cares enough, we can give people money, we can give people food, clothes, call them and check on them when they're sick, we can give them rides, but really inviting somebody to church to place them in a position to have a relationship is the most important thing that we can do for anybody, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that I have to improve myself. Like I'd be like so happy to come to church on Sundays. I love the fellowship. I love my newfound families. I because really I'm really anti, and somehow I've opened up to like this whole new person where
Mhm.
I love to socialize. I like coming in on Sunday. I'm sharing ideas. Like it just makes me happy. So it is, I definitely do need to start inviting more people.
It'll listen what Antoine just said in my story, everybody's story of somebody inviting them to church. But I look right now and I look at Miss Shirley. I was at the motor vehicle administration doing a driving test, and by me just always, just trying to comfort someone, she was very nervous. So I started talking about God because I saw a cross in her car. And and then talking about God, I talked about our church. And fast forward some years now, Miss Shirley not only a part of our church, she's been married in our church. Like just inviting someone to church.
Working. Both of
Yeah,
them are
right.
working.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So like just planting the seed. Antoine, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need on a shirt. Access granted, just planting the seed. I'm gonna need that on a shirt.
Hey.
But
Mm.
just planting the seed of getting somebody in a position. Just put them in position. God will do the rest.
I agree
And
with that.
Eddie said, yeah, well, I ain't gonna get into all of my little administrative stuff, but I'm over here taking notes so that I can circle back to stuff as it, fits in.
Okay.
Eddie said something, he made a comment about booking an appointment to talk to someone. So I
Mm,
just wanted to circle back to that because that had been my experience too, visiting different churches. And I mean, to each his own. Some people like the mega church with the thousands of people, cool. But you might gotta get an appointment with the pastor like 3 weeks out for a crisis that you got going on right now. Or yes, it's awesome to have associate ministers. They're very important, and they can help to bridge the gap and stuff like that. But sometimes people want to talk to the pastor. Not only can you talk to our pastor, but like he's out there in the trenches with everybody else. He's there to greet you at the door. He's not, up in his office, like reserved, tucked away somewhere. Like when you come in the morning, you're going to, it's not like some people visit a church and it takes weeks and they'd be like, oh, that's the pastor, or oh, dag, I didn't know,
Mhm.
that I could talk to that person, like, because they so, untouchable, standoffish, all of the
Right.
things. So,
Right.
getting people to see, reconditioning people, because Antoine made a comment about us being the minority. We are,
mhm,
and we're now trying to undo so many stigmas, so many, things with the church people and the dress and them looking at you a type of way. If you're not dressing, walking the walk, talking the talk, if you're not falling in line, you come to some churches and there's all of these rules and stuff. And if you do something wrong, you're looked at away. You don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And so removing that red tape and getting rid of some of the politics, and that's why I it's a known thing now. Non-denominational churches are on the rise, not because people want to necessarily do whatever they want to do. Like there's still structure, but it's not political, or it's you know what I mean? It's just not all the things that people got turned away from church in the first place.
I agree with that.
People looking for relatability. People looking for relatability. I got comfortable. Antoine, I don't think I ever told you this. But to give you your flowers. When I saw, because you were in the church working before I even got, to St. Stephen's. And when I saw you working, and then I talked to you on the side, and you talk sports, you talk rap, and I'm like, wait a minute. So he just normal. He just happened to be in here working. He just normal. And, God knew what he was doing a long time ago when I used to pull you aside and be like, hey, I rap a little bit. And, I would let you hear some music. And then that's how our relationship built. Fast forward times, we are hand to hand, working with young men in the community, trying to bridge the gap. God knows what he's doing. He builds and molds relationships way before we even think of them. It's just when you show who you truly are, that allows other individuals to let their guard down. And we are Christians. We're not in a position to judge because we've been there. Some of us are still there. It's an everyday struggle. But we have to be more relatable. People always, I'm gonna be honest, I get hard on myself sometimes when I write my sermons because, Kiara, Pastor Phil, and Reverend Jackie, they're all seasoned. They have more time than I do. So sometimes I get down on myself and I realize God is using you for a reason. And that's all of us. All of us have one job to do. We have a specific, Eddie, you got your friends, Felicia, you got your friends, Antoine, you got your friends. That's your flock. He's placed you in a position for a reason. You speak to your flock, you allow yourself to be vulnerable and you be transparent. And those who you're supposed to usher in are going to come. I know for a fact they're going to come. I love you, Antoine.
You too, bro. I like the way you did that story, though. You really just started bum rushing me in the parking lot. I'm like, yo, I said, this guy.
And now he let the cat out the bag, so you can't put it back in.
And he always listened, man.
Yeah. It was worth it.
So y'all heard it first right there that the men listen. So men, come and listen and talk.
I think another thing has got to come from men, though.
Yeah.
Do y'all agree? Like,
I agree.
We followed our ladies into the church because of something we were looking for.
Because we were being men.
but we stay in church from the men that we find ourselves under in church. I'm being groomed by one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. I feel honored and privileged to be alongside Pastor, learning from him, being a friend of him. Yourself, Antoine, Eddie, you know how we get down. I feel like once you get around a particular group of men, everybody has their stories. Everybody's been through their trials. They're in their tribulations now. You can share. Man, Antoine, you know some stuff about me. I know some stuff about you. And I need to come to you every now and then. I done cried in your arms and vice versa. We need that because the world is tough, especially for Black men. You said it yourself, coming out the womb. It's tough. We got to start saying, look, man, you can't do this by yourself. But I know a place where you can go,
So basically what you're saying is the ladies need to step up and find a man to bring to church because that's what's happening.
Right.
That's what it seemed like. That's what it seemed like. Invite your, invite
So all
your
you
other.
ladies that's gonna be watching this when this goes out, you got a little boo thing, you got boyfriends, fiance, you got a friend,
Right.
you got a couple of friends,
Invite
them to church.
You don't want to go to the Beyonce concert. You want to go to the church.
Right.
That's a whole nother.
Hey, listen to your fiance on the ride, and when you get out, it's cool.
Right.
But a man definitely has to have. He definitely has to feel a right vibe when they come into a church, I don't know if it's that they have that sense of, I don't want to be judged, I don't want people to, know about my past and this, that, and the third. And, it's almost like, and if I do need somebody that I can talk to, I don't know who, here I might be able to, share my deepest, darkest secrets with, and, come back next Sunday and the whole church know, my,
Yeah, I
and
understand that.
and Kiara touched on, the availability of the leadership in the church. And I just started laughing to myself when you said, sometimes you gotta make an appointment 3 weeks in advance to see the pastor. I went to a particular church that I'm not gonna mention. And I was told that once if I joined the church, I would be put in a tribe. And if I needed to talk to the pastor, I had to talk to the tribe leader first. And I was like, y'all ain't no Indian. What do you mean I'm putting what you mean? And at St. Stephen's, I know at St. Stephen's, we were spoiled, man. Like you could call Pastor Gray. I remember, having 2 deaths in the family, and I called Pastor Gray and Reverend Candace at 3:30 in the morning. And Reverend Candace answered the phone like it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that means a lot. That means a lot, and it's the same thing that we have with our pastor now. He jokes about it, but you can definitely call anytime for anything, and we'll get mad at you when you don't. That's the thing I love about it. What you mean?
He'll pull up on you too.
About it, yeah.
Let you not answer that phone a couple of times. He will knock on your door.
Yeah.
I think so it's also. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's also a level of respect, like you were saying, you don't want to be judged, but when you go into a church, you're also, and this is us men, period, we are protectors by nature. We're also looking around and seeing who's who and what's what when we first get to a building. And I'll never forget the first time I was given a chance to do something in the church. So I'm not going to speak on the name, but someone, asked me if I wanted to get involved in their upcoming young men's program. And I was like, oh, absolutely. This is what I'm looking for. Y'all know my story, not coming from having a father or a father figure in my life. So I'm going to give back to those who come up like me. So I said, who we going to go out and get? We can go to Latrobe, we can go to Murphy, we can go to McCullough Homes. I said, I'm still good in these communities. I got, people and family. We can go there. We can talk to these young men. We can get them in church. And they told me, oh, well, we weren't looking for those kids. We were looking for, for the ones that were here. And I said, well, the ones that are here already have grandparents or moms and dads to bring them in here. They don't really need anybody else. They're here already. And after I said that, I was never, invited back. So I lost a level of respect for those brothers in that setting, because it felt like, what are you actually doing it for? Are you doing it for a show, or are you really trying to fix the cause? So it's a level of respect that you also have to carry. Like you said, be yourself all the time. I don't want to just see you on. There's some people who didn't speak to me after those Sundays. I seen them out. Remember, I worked at the NVA. I seen you when you was mad at your lowest. You coming in, you been told to come back 10 times, and you didn't speak to me after Sunday, and then want to speak to me on Sunday. So it's also those stigmas too. It's those things that people who already have a preconceived notion going into a church of how the church people are, they don't want to be there because of this preconceived notion. And when you get there and you prove me right, I might never step foot in a church ever again.
That part. That part.
Do you think that's happened so much, and that's where we are now, because it's happened so much that nobody cares to step foot? How do we get that safe space for men to feel like, oh, I can go here, even if there's no girl as a conduit to get me there?
I think he touched on it. I think Antoine touched on it too. I think I've prayed for my church more than I've prayed for anything ever. And God rest his soul, Leonard Green. Some of his I don't know if Pastor has told you this, Key, but his last words to Pastor Phil was, "Don't let the church close." This particular branch of Zion, when God placed it on Philip A. Miller Sr.'s heart to name this church Victorious Living Faith not your traditional church. That wasn't a shot to any other traditional church, but it was like things need to change in the world. I'm going to place a particular group of individuals who really about Christ and are just them, and we're going to do some work because it needs some work. We have to get back to a point of, I don't care about all of the tradition and politics of a service. I care that you're here. I care that you're going through something. I care that you need somebody right now. I care that you need a relationship with Christ. All the other stuff is cool. The dances is cool. The music is great. You know, the spirit is in the room. But when you can feel Christ living faith through another person, Eddie, you said it yourself. When you get into a space and you actually can feel love from every person that's in the building, that's different than watching some praise dances. Not knocking the praise dances, but I think not being traditional is what's going to get people to a point where they feel more comfortable coming into the building. Oh, Antoine, listen to rap? I thought you couldn't listen to rap if you was a Christian.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
You know, like the word
Yes.
also the word also say, you know, come as you are. And we almost got kicked out. You couldn't make it up the road of a day. The pastor and my wife was laughing because the spirit led me to preach at someone else's church, and I was speaking on the denominational churches not getting along. And mind you, I was in an AME church, and I was talking about how AME only want to be with AME and Baptists only want to be with Baptists. But at the end of the day, you know, if we're all in this Christian walk together, then we shouldn't, you know, hold our arms together and say, well, I can't do work with them up the street. We're proving their points, man. We proving a lot of people's points. We can't even get along with ourselves. How are we supposed to get along with the world? So I feel like we need to get to a point where we just be yourself, try to do better. We just trying to do better. That's it.
That's it.
And none of us perfect. We just trying to do better, man.
That's it.
Right. Do you guys feel like churches cater towards women more than men?
Cater?
Ooh.
Oof.
I don't think we cater. I don't think church caters more towards women. I just think women come in and do better.
Yes, sir.
To be honest with you, there was a certain time when you wouldn't find a woman in the pulpit. You know, now you got women, leading churches. Look at your ministries. A lot of them are ran by women. It's just, I think about St. Stephen's days, that used to get talked about a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because the women, they were literally running the show. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it caters to. I think women, a lot of women come in the church with a better mindset than men do. And once they get there, they just do better. I can't even put it any differently. Women just do better. So I don't think it's a cater thing. It's just
That's absolutely correct. I used to have this metaphor for the church being, the garden. You know how Adam and Eve, kicked out of the garden, but returning back to church is that trying to get back into the garden. When we get into a point in our lives as young men, when we're aiming for something and we done been through everything that we done been through and we need to do better and we want to do better, people forget that the work that we're doing, how can I put this? The work that we're doing right now is not different than anybody else. It's not like, Antoine, you're the best, minister of music, which I'll just put that in the air just now. If you see how I did that just now. But it's not that I'm the best minister, Kiara the best minister, you're the best multimedia, Eddie, you're the best multimedia. It's just the fact that we're trying to do our best. And when I say getting back to the Garden of Eden, we sometimes as men forget that we had the first relationship with God. So getting back is that, let me get back to a relationship with God that us as men need to have. When it says that we're the head, not the tail, this is when we're getting to the point in our lives, we done been through everything else, and we now want to be the head. We now want to be going down the right path. We now want to be making the money we want to make. We now want to be in a position of positivity because we have young men following us. We now want to be in a position where the community looks at us as the leader. If we get back to a point where we feel like we are the kings that God has instilled, and it's not that the fact that ladies are under us, ladies, you are red, which means you protect our hearts. But we as men have to get to a point where we remember that God put us here first, which means we had the word first, which means we were supposed to till our garden, which means we're supposed to take care of our communities. Now, if we want to get really deep into it, and we go back of the brothers being taken out of our communities left and right, at one time, dad was taking his family to church. Father was instead, he was, come on, y'all, get up. We going to church and not missing a Sunday. But as time went on, the African-American male being taken out of the house home, targeted, and we can get into that another story. But after a while, moms were left on their own to take these, babies to church and do things like that. So after a while, the woman became the head of the household. We need to get to a point where we take accountability for ourselves. If my next door neighbor, she by herself, she got some kids, and I'm a man, okay, I ain't supposed to be paying her gas and electric, her BG&E and all that stuff. Yes, but I'm gonna tell my wife, hey, kid, they struggling next door, baby. When you go to the grocery store, ask if she need anything. These are the things that we're supposed to do as men, period. But we men, fellas, and let's be honest, we see the ladies taking control over, we fall back sometimes. And I think that's what it is. I don't think that they're doing so much better. It's the fact that we see them doing good and we sit back and we get comfortable. We have to get to a point where we know, oh shoot, I'm the head. Antoine, we was up the road, brother. You said something that's always going to stick with me. God is going to put who you need around you, and then you will be taken care of. And I'll always keep that. But if you would have never told me that, I wouldn't be able to walk with so much encouragement, knowing I got my tribe with me. But I'm a leader because of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we need each other, fellas. We got to take a little bit of accountability, and that's where it starts. Antoine, look, you be putting me in my place sometimes, brother.
Do y'all think that's why men aren't at church? That's another reason, accountability.
Oh wow.
I mean, it plays a
They
part, but
also.
I'm stuck on this whole just fact of we can be in the world, but we don't have to be of the world.
That part.
We don't have to do what the world does. We got too many men that worry about what the world thinks of them.
Mm-hmm.
Able to fit in. We want to keep up with the Joneses, this, that, and the third. And they feel like I know a lot, and I'm speaking because I know a lot of men like this.
Mm-hmm.
See some of the stuff that I see about the church on my timeline on social media sometimes. I'll be like, I've literally unfriended people because of stuff that they said.
Wow.
I'm like, bro. So it's like, hold on. So it's like, we have to do better. We have to do better. Let me grab the door real quick.
I got you.
But that lead back to be feeling like we all have that obligation to study and know the word ourselves, because that will be forced to follow something that you're not, you know what I mean? Like you have to do your own due diligence so you can know what flock or what, congregation you should be a part of, So a lot of people come out and throw stones or have these opinions, but I mean, with any religion, we've had a lot of people that wasn't shepherds like they said they were, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, instead of falling and getting caught into all of that, I just know that, we got that obligation of studying and knowing the word yourself. That way you won't be fooled. I know that's like later on down the line usually, because just getting you to come to church, is probably the first process. But, as you continue to grow, you learn these type of things. That way, you won't have the issues that you might have had before.
Yeah,
he perfectly worded the point that I was trying to get across. That
absolutely. Knowing the word.
people sit back and they look at church folks and a lot of stuff that goes on. They see certain people in the media, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how can I come serve under you? Or how can I come in fellowship with you when you, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You also, both of you guys made a great point, because when you said about pleasing the world, and Eddie, you talked about knowing your word. The word states that when you make yourself a friend of the world, you make yourself an enemy of God. The word is telling you right then, you do not have to be with them. I need you right here with me. We're gonna have this conversation. We're gonna have this one-on-one, and I'm gonna get you where you need to be. They'll be here too once I have the conversation with them. But if you go chasing what they doing, and you worried about what they doing, and you worried about everything but me, that's when you find yourself in one of them positions. But I tell you right now, I look back on my life, I don't know where I would be without, you know,
Yeah,
I
I
guess I
mean,
wouldn't be nowhere.
let's be honest. As we all continue to go to church, a lot of the issues fade away because of the fact of your growth. You know, your
That part.
discernment grow, your love grow. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Your patience grow. So a lot of things that you may have had issues with, you know, just coming, you know, all of that stuff don't even matter no more, you know?
We were just talking about it this morning, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just growing up.
So
I
basically,
love that, and I think it teaches you a different way, to look at things. Like Eddie was saying, that the things are always going to be the things. Life is going to continue to life every single day. But your growth and your relationship with Christ, as that grows, it helps you to to see things differently, to realize that, okay, this is just another thing. Like, I've had worse happen to me, I've overcome worse, I've been through worse, I've literally like crawled out of the mud, and I'm still here. And so as these things continue to happen, and as they continue to happen to people around us, right? Because then you can reach back and grab somebody else and say, hey, I've been where you are, and this is where I am now. And y'all know I say all the time, I'm an action person. Like, you could speak all the words, you could talk all the things in my ear, but I'm watching the way that you move, I'm watching the way that you operate, I'm watching the way that you treat people, I'm watching your consistency or your inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
So, you know what I mean? That part. So that's important too to people,
Right.
because if they come in and they see, oh, this is good, and these people are, they loving on me, and they, because I'm new. But then after, a couple of weeks or whatever, when I'm not so new, I start fading, drowning, like crying out, holding on by a thread. Nobody's checking on me. Nobody's noticing that I'm not even there. Like, these are the things that are important. And these are the things that seem to naturally happen at VLF. Like, somebody, even if you don't catch them the first Sunday because there's so much going on, whatever, you're gonna notice that second Sunday roll around, and somebody, I guarantee you, somebody is checking on that person. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to have people falling by the wayside, been gone for 6 months, because then they're like, well, I mean, I thought we was family. This is what, like, and I'm over here. See, like, actions and consistency. I think that is one of the things too. And what Antoine was saying about women being better. No, the women, it seems that sometimes, just from my perspective and from what I see, the men come in sometimes more broken or more guarded. And so women tend to naturally, after a while, kind of get comfortable and allow themselves to be vulnerable, and allow people to pour into them, to love it on them. Whereas men, sometimes it seems to take them a little while, and that's okay too. But we ain't talking about meeting people where they are. But I'll
Yeah.
stop talking for a little bit. Let Mike jump in.
But
mm.
that's
Yep,
a
you're
whole,
right.
Subject.
Right. That
yeah,
sounds like part two.
but
What y'all
that's
think?
that's a great point though, because the women, you do kind of gravitate, towards each other a lot more. but that's kind of like, that's not a man thing. You know what I mean? Man, we gotta, there's gotta be some time for us to kind of get to that level where we feel like, because again, to a lot of people in the world, church people are judgy. Church people will talk about you. You know what I'm saying? So, as men, we come in with that thought process, and it's like, it's going to take us a minute, to kind of warm up. And because, as Mishan said earlier, we don't see a lot of men praising. We don't see a lot of men, not even just raising your hand, don't even stand up and clap. When they feel in the music, you can see it, they tapping their foot. But
they want to clap so bad.
Yeah. So, women definitely, I think you guys kind of, I'm not going to say that it's easier, but because you're naturally nurturers, you know what I'm saying? So you naturally cling, and then, you guys just have an ability to just kind of make it feel more comfortable for other women, sooner. Whereas men, it's like, bro, so.
So what steps can we take, or if any, do you think there are steps that we need to take at our church currently to make it more comfortable for men?
I think BLF is cool once we get them there.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I also, I don't think that perfect answer, Antoine, but I don't think that's a church thing.
Right.
I really feel like that's gonna be, when you get in there and you get broken down, because you're gonna break down. It's gonna be something that you hear, that you feel, that's going to put you in a position to say, I can't do this by myself no more. It's that turning point, fellas. Y'all know that turning point where you go from just being here to wanting to be here to wanting to do something to doing something, and then wanting to do better. So like, I don't think that's a church thing. I think that's going to be, Antoine, you get them in the building, and it's good from there. Just get there. I don't think our church can do anything. We're doing a great job, man. I really feel like I love, when I genuinely say I love you, Eddie Quarles, and I love you, Antoine, like my brothers. I do, man. I know if I'm going through something, I can call y'all. And it could be something small. I can call y'all. I can check on y'all. You guys are more my family than my blood sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The connection that men do have at LF, I think, is absolutely amazing. Like, my man Eddie just hit me like 10:30 the other night. I'm about to crash down, and I get the phone call, and he just needed to get some stuff off his chest.
And it be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Eddie loved me so much. He a Broncos fan. I got pictures.
You know what else though? That made me think of something, Fee, when Mishan was just talking to, and I don't know if Pastor Phil, we already know he got a direct connect, he the plug. But I don't know if, this was his thing or if this is something that somebody planted in him. But we all laugh and joke about, the being voluntold to do stuff. But I noticed that when people come in and they are given an assignment or they are encouraged to do something, that is also going, because we already know, I talked about commitment and consistency earlier. If you get people to commit to doing something, they're more likely to stick around. I know it's been times where, pre-ministry or whatever, where when you said the young adult ministry, when I was a part of something, then there was accountability and there was a certain level of responsibility. And I'm like, oh, dag, man, I stayed up too late Saturday night. I'm tired. I don't feel like getting up, man. I'm just going to stay home Sunday. Then I'm like, oh, shoot, got to do something. I'm responsible for something in service. We got to do whatever. And so getting people when they come in, when they first join, helping them to find where they fit, that's important too. And so like Antoine said with Jerry's guys, that he invited, he kind of just dove right in there, but that doesn't happen a lot with men.
Right.
So just letting them know, hey, like we got this going on, ABC, XYZ. You don't have to necessarily do something today, but there's something for everybody to get involved with to do. It's easier for somebody to keep coming when they have something to do besides just sitting there.
Yeah. Can I elaborate on that? That's an amazing, amazing point. Because I'm sitting here thinking about all of us. Your spiritual gifts are different than the actual, work that when you've told, voluntold to come down to a coat drive or voluntold to come help, with the, such and such ministry. God gave you a spiritual gift too, and an assignment. And it's crazy that you say that, because sometimes just getting an individual to open up to an assignment puts them in better position to be able to carry out their true assignment. I didn't do anything at St. Stephen's but sit there and just sit there and sit there. I was a number. Of course, I was getting the word, I was hearing the word. I was trying my best to apply it, but it wasn't until pastor said, hey, Mishon, can you, sit in on you laughing because can you sit in on the multimedia, because, the multimedia is on their way and they running late. I sat there the first week, second week, same thing happened. I was sitting there for 3 years straight after that. And if it wasn't for me working in the church, getting comfortable working in the church, being seen working in the church, I don't think I've ever answered my call to ministry. I wouldn't have been comfortable enough. I wouldn't have been prepared enough to really live up to my assignment. And though I preach, it's not about preaching. I'm learning my word. I'm praying more. My prayer life has magnified. And I think all those things occurred from actually working in the church. Antoine, you work every Sunday. If you don't realize it, you working. You might be up there having fun, but you working. Eddie, you working. Felicia, you are working. All of us are actually working in the church, and probably never in a million years would have thought we would be not just there, but working in the church.
I'm laughing at the story you just told, because Pastor Gray got me in multimedia the same way.
No, it's crazy. Sit here for a couple minutes.
Same way they would just get ready to start being on TV. And he was making the announcement that they was going to start the following week, and he was like, "Yeah, so we're going to be needing some people, work work video cameras." And he looked over. I mean, you look like you know how to work a camcorder, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, a camcorder. And from there, I was on the multimedia ministry for like 4 or 5 years after that, man.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're in the community with young men, saving the lives of young men. Working. Eddie
And
too.
eventually he gonna be on fries. But while we on that subject real quick, I gotta say, because when I laughed earlier when Mishon said the best minister of music, I gotta say real quick, I know we probably wind up on time, but while we on record, this guy, he's down lower on my screen. This guy, AG, Mr. Access Granted. You could drop that of music part and just focus in on the minister part, because he already then said it in jokes or whatever. So I'm putting you on blast, sir.
Absolutely.
Because we was talking about people's paths, right? And how they come in and they started out in multimedia, sound a little familiar. And then fast forward about 20 something years, however long it takes, they speak a little bit in different situations, different churches. They done already done it. You know what I mean? Because God done already planted that seed. But I'm just saying, that's it.
Yeah. And the craziest part, you're right though, because we talk about the term minister. That don't mean you always behind the pulpit preaching.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We all
You minister to me more than any man I know besides my pastor, bro. And it'd be small stuff. It'd be something small, bro. You speak life. The last time, the first session that we had with the young men, after everything was over, we developed a relationship with them. We got them, we got them up. They're now excited for what things have to offer. You came right in, asked the parents to leave, and you started speaking to the young men to allow them to know that it's comfortable. It's a safe space for you to be exactly who you are. If there's anything that you need, we're here for you. You were ministering to these young men, and that's all of us. That's all of us. I think that wraps up perfectly.
Yeah,
It starts with the accountability of doing what we are supposed to do.
I agree. So, in closing, do you guys just want to plug
Crazy.
your ministries or whatever you want to, I know me, Sean, you have the men's ministry. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
To be honest, and this is all honesty and transparency, I had to learn some things. God put me in a position to have to learn some leadership skills because I was a lone wolf. I traveled by myself. Though I never followed anybody, I was by myself. So putting me in charge of the men's ministry, I saw some good and some bad. We had a great Men's Day event. It was amazing, but I kind of have not been doing the greatest for the men's ministry. And it's so funny because God knows my heart. I got to a point where I was like, you know what, the men, they don't want to come to, and I've had this conversation with both you guys. The men don't want to come out unless it's something fun. And Eddie, you were always there to pick me up. Antoine, you were always there to pick me up. But God said, okay, Mishan, you want the men to do what the men want to do, but I know you're not going to let these kids fall. So I'm going to give you that too. So now you're not only going to focus on the young men, it's going to then give you the lessons and tools that you need to be able to apply to the men. And eventually we're going to bridge the gap. So I just thank God for everything that he's doing for the men at Victorious Living Faith Ministries, because I know that every single man in that building who is invested and involved is going to be a great servant to this community, of these young men, and it's only going to grow. So it's not about my ministry; it's the men, all the men at Victorious Living Faith. These two brothers I have right here are just as important, if not more, because I need them to bounce off when I'm feeling down. Big up my brother Al Speaks, who picked me all the way up. Eddie, I told you, boy, y'all was almost on your own. I almost quit. I almost quit. But I thank God for everything he's doing with the men, man. He's
But you
working.
said something very important in what you were just saying, and it goes to what, this whole topic of this conversation and why men are not going to church. You mentioned bridging the gap. Now you are going out in the community. You're going into the school. You're going into the middle school where the men are at the impressionable phase where they're struggling the most with identity. They have all of these things going on. You're going there. And guess what? By you going there, don't be surprised if a couple of them start popping up in church or their parents bring them to church because they're seeing what you're doing, meeting them where they are.
Well, hey, Antoine, when we were leaving out, I had to walk into the office. And when I was telling my mom this story, about, looking around the building and going into the office, and she said, when you were younger, you were in trouble so much, you were in the office so much, and now you on the positive side of things. And it hit me. And it was like, wow, you have a responsibility to give back to you. He's just that person right there is just like you. That's why, we have all of these men, because we all have different personalities, different interests, and we will be able to bridge this gap, man, because we got God first. And as long as we put God first and foremost, his plans will be met. I just thank God for our church, man.
Wait till about March or April, bro, and see how that program at Deep Creek is. Let's watch.
Man, you talking about humbling, brother?
Watch,
Humbling.
bro. Just watch. I could see it. I could see it in a lot of the young men. We had it was almost like pulling teeth just to get them to, speak loud. But I
Mm-hmm.
promise after about 2 or 3 more sessions, it's gonna be on. I
I
promise
don't
you.
know. I don't know if Pastor told you, but they were already asking. Miss Aretha called me and said, "Hey, they were so upset that we didn't have it the next Saturday." And I was like, "You see that? The three young men that came in all tough. You know they were the eighth graders, so they cool. They go little click.
Right.
At the end of it all, they were hugging us.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
it's I don't know where I would be without two men that weren't my father, but just took their time because they were given time to teach me everything that they knew. And without those two men, I don't know where I would be in life. So because somebody is not your father biologically, it does not mean that God didn't assign them to you.
Mm.
And that's how I feel, man.
Sean got them kids that attack me with paper snowballs too. Don't think I forgot
Yo,
about
that was
those,
yeah,
bro.
So
that
it
was
sounds
so fun.
like y'all doing a lot of great things for the young men, and that's great. It's great to hear. Like it's just great to hear great things about men because it just seems like today in the world it's so negative. It's such a battle. Men is this, men is that. Men don't know this, and it's just like you just want to see men in positive spaces, sharing love, spreading love to anybody else. And it's just a good thing. And I'm thankful for you guys. I don't know. I'm just so excited for this whole opportunity. Like, that's why I brought this whole thing up, this conversations with Fee, because I want to talk about real things that's happening in our world. And it's just been great.
Yes, it
Man,
is. Can I say something real fast to that? Because it's a balance, and I'm glad you said that. Because our queens, listen, brothers, I say it for us. I say it for us. When you see social media and how the world, I can't speak to all men. I can speak for black men because I'm a black man. When the world is because the greatest trick the enemy ever did was convincing the world he didn't exist. When the world is tearing down the black man, if you want to ask what you can do more, when you see one of these posts about some, oh, my baby father ain't this or the black man ain't this, well, you post something positive about your brother because you know a bunch of great black men that are doing something positive, and it has to be a balance. We can't sit quietly, ladies, when we hear our girlfriends talking about how bad men are or bad, black men are. Trust me, it's a lot of great brothers around the world, around the entire world. But it seems I see a whole lot of brothers doing. Eddie, Antoine, you said something about a daddy-daughter dance maybe a year and a half ago or something like that. They say black men aren't in the homes. They're not raising their children. Well, I look at you two brothers. You're fathers, great dads. So we have to have that balance and start promoting positivity in the black community. We can't let the social lights continuously break down the image of the black man and what he represents in the black home. So ladies, next time y'all see that and y'all hear that men ain't nothing, you go ahead and tell them that you know some great men. Don't
Right.
sit quiet in a salon, sister.
I know
I
that's
would
right.
speak for all women and say that we love you, men. We need you, men. And the kingdom is not the kingdom without the king. So come on back. Just come on back.
That
that's a
sound
bar.
good. That
That's a
sound good
bar.
though. That
Bar.
sound good. Hey, Key, what's that show you be watching? With sisters? Or something like that? That sound good. Y'all go ahead. Yeah, uh-huh.
That was not just talk. That was
Yeah,
that was for real. That was from the
uh-huh.
heart.
Well, make sure y'all put that out there. I want to see it on a t-shirt or something.
That sounds good.
Listen,
Maybe we should. That
That's
might
dope.
work. So guys, in closing, is there any last words or any shameless plugs that you want to talk about?
Access granted.
We taking a, we taking the month of December off, bro. So I'll plug it. I'll plug on the next show.
Okay.
YouTube channel.
No. Listen, I'll plug it. So if you haven't tuned in to Access Granted, please tune in. You can find them via YouTube. Please subscribe, like, post. You can find them on Facebook. They might be taking the month of December off, but you can go back and watch current videos or previous videos in the past. And it's enough to keep you full until the time that they come back. So enjoy Access Granted with your very own Antoine Grant and his co-host. Mr. Co-host, got plugger.
Lisa Monet. Lisa Monet.
You got it.
I had the privilege of having me, Sean, and Kiara on the show, and they
Okay.
were great.
Might have to get on there, Antoine.
I was trying to get Kiara to be my permanent co-host at one point, but she was like, bro, you don't pay enough. So
listen, I was doing something else, but you got Miss Lisa now, so you all good. But listen, you ever need a fill-in, I already told you, I got you anytime.
Man, listen,
This is
Antoine, you the
this is
man.
my lane until I get my own, because my own is coming. It's coming. Just don't know when. So hold tight.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining in with me tonight. And this has been Conversations with Fee.
Awesome.
Everybody, have a good one.
All right.
Peace out.
Y'all.
Go Ravens.
BLF Nation.